So um, these boys ride up on these bicycles, and at this point, I'm just, I'm pretty delirious. I'm just crying, and just, just needing help. So they ask me what's going on, and I ask them, is it possible that you could get some officers here to to assist me? And they're like, well, no, like, what's the problem? And I said, I really do not want to get into this. I need to file a complaint. Can you do you have the capabilities to allow me to do that? They said no. So at this point, we are going back and forth, and um, they're talking junk. I'm talking junk. Let me rephrase it. They're talking shit. I'm talking shit. So finally, it got to the point where one of the guys on the bicycles tells me, "Well, that's why you're going to jail tonight, anyways." And I said, "What are you talking about? Why am I going to jail?" And he said, "Because of public intoxication." Now, mind you, I don't have any ID. I was not drinking. No one has given me any type of sobriety test. He has just told me I was intoxicated. And I, of course, said, "Okay, now you're saying this without giving me any type of sobriety test." So finally, I get up, walk away. I walk down the street to another club. There were two security guards. I pleading help again. Now, I'm not sure if they called the police because we did get into an argument. They called the police. Police showed up. It was the same people that were at the Greyhound earlier. Um, they were walking in, and one of the guards hit me. I'm not sure if I hit them back or not. I don't know. All I know is, I know right now all you can see is my face. I'm 5'10", 150 pounds. Well, at the time I was about 150 pounds. And in the next moment, I was knocked on the floor, being punched in my legs. I was tased, handcuffed, and booked, and put in jail. Um, Taken down to the jail, and when I got to the jail, I didn't know anything about being there. I didn't know how to be in jail. I didn't know any of these things. None of it. None of it. Um, so I get down to the jail, and one of the first things they have you do is undress so that they can check your body. And I refused to stand on that floor. I refused. I didn't know any better. Um, I I asked for footies. I said I'm not standing on this floor, which entail got me thrown up against the wall. Um, and I ended up being in jail in Fort Worth, Texas, for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. I've never been charged with anything in my life. Um, then to go further, I was in Fort Worth just maybe 2 or 3 years earlier, um, because I used to be a Titans cheerleader, and I was there in the capacity of sending our troops over to Iraq. I was there singing, to the community and troops, and to be in a position some years later, getting beat and tased and put in jail. Um, I really wish that was the end of the story, but in jail, I I just didn't know how to be there, so I was continually getting moved from cell to cell. Um, I My bruises that I received on the sides of my legs, um, were not medicated for about maybe a little bit after a week, and and when I told them, what had occurred, why, the sides of my body was black, they told me that it was what do they say? It's like a skin disease, eczema, rather than the fact that I was scuffling, had been scuffling on the ground with officers on top of me, punching me and tasing me. And I mean, there were no pictures taken, but I still have the medication that they gave me um, here. And let's see, I was put in the suicide ward while I was in jail. It was just, it was really just crazy. And oh, when they finally, I ended up being appointed a lawyer since I was not from Texas, and I didn't have my family did not have the money to bail me out. Um, so um, my charges were assault, um, trespassing, and public intoxication. And when they finally appointed me a lawyer, not letting me ever know what was going on, um, the lawyer advised me that if I pled innocent, that I would have to stay in jail longer. But he advised me to plead no contest. So, so mysteriously, one charge disappeared. I don't even know which one. Um, but the judge would only allow me to plead no contest on one of the charges. So the other one, for me to be able to leave, I had to plead guilty, um, so that I could leave. Um, and I did get to leave. When I finally did leave, the slides that I had been wearing in jail, they took them away. So I was walking through the city after I was once let out of jail with no shoes. I actually didn't even have socks. Had it not been for a woman that was getting out of jail at the same time to give me socks, I wouldn't have had socks. But I just there has just been no reciprocity. I emailed the mayor. His name is Mike um, Moncrief, and his office number is 817-392-6118. There was another number, 817-788-7044. And, it's just time out for this. I've never had any charges on me. I've never been a public nuisance or anything of that nature. And it's an atrocity that this is still going on. Um, in any shape, form, or fashion. And at this point, I'm I for me to gain reciprocity, I have to have a lawyer in Fort Worth, Texas, and I don't have the money for that. You know, but all I do have is faith that these people are taken off the street. I actually spoke with another individual that was roughed up by the police in Memphis. Um, Seifu, in front of his shop, that he owns, him and his wife. And it's time out. It is time out. There was never a time for it, but it's definitely not the time now. And I've emailed the mayor to no response whatsoever. And I'm sure that he just wants me to not deal, but we have an opportunity to gain some reciprocity. Um, because if it can happen to me, it can happen to any any of the black brothers and sisters walking the streets. What you've done and what you're doing in your life doesn't mean anything as long as you're wearing this brown.